don't just take all that money and go spend it on something cool and flashy. Take that money and reinvest it back into your setup. What's going on, everybody? My name is TAETRO, your electronic music mentor. Welcome back to an all-new Mentor Monday. If you don't know, Mentor Monday is a segment on this channel where we talk about some of the less technical and more philosophical aspects of being an electronic musician and an artist. Today I want to talk about how it is possible to be constantly upgrading and updating your setup on a budget. Alright, first things first, if you enjoy live electronic music performances, tutorials, and content to make you a more productive producer, click that subscribe button down below. And if you are already subscribed, go down there anyway and ring the bell so you get notified every time I post a video. The setup that you see behind me and the gear that you see me use on this channel is not part of a setup that I've always had. It's not part of the setup that I started with. It was a constant process of growing, and now that I've grown the channel, partnering with brands so that I could get cool and new gear. But since it wasn't always like that and I wanted to produce electronic music, I needed to find creative ways of constantly upgrading and updating my setup so that I could get the tools I wanted to create electronic music performances and produce music. When I first started out, I rarely bought any gear new. I was always buying used, and I was either buying from eBay or Craigslist. Now we have sites like reverb.com, which are geared specifically towards musicians and music gear. But back then I would scour eBay and Craigslist and try to find the best deals on electronic music gear, and I made off pretty well. I've bought everything from guitars to those monitors to microphones, my APC-40. All of those were bought secondhand used, and it's really easy to tell what condition things are in, especially if you're doing something like Craigslist where you can go see it in person before you buy it. I also really enjoyed buying on Craigslist because you could usually always negotiate price. So whatever something is listed at, unless they have it listed as a firm price, they're most likely to negotiate, and you can negotiate as much as $50 to $100 down most of the time. You might not always be able to get the newest gear, but buying used gear was a great way to keep my setup updated. And of course, along with the buying gear used, I was also doing a lot of selling gear. So before I had these KRK RP5s, I had a set of small M Audio $100 pair monitors. And those served their purpose for me when I was just starting out, but I eventually wanted to upgrade to something bigger like the KRKs. Instead of just holding on to the small M Audio monitors, I was able to resell them on Craigslist for about half the price that I bought them for, but selling speakers that I'm not going to use anyway for $50 is better than $0. Then I could also take that money that I generated from selling the used gear and apply it to buying new gear. You shouldn't be too precious about the gear that you're buying because you want to be constantly upgrading. So if you want to get something new, really think about what you're ready to let go of and go ahead and sell that and put the money towards the cost of the new gear. You'd also be surprised at how many companies do offer educational discounts if you're in school, whether that be high school or college. When I was in college, I bought Ableton Live for the first time, and I was able to get a substantial amount off just by scanning in my student ID, sending it in, and taking advantage of their student discount. I probably wouldn't have been able to afford the full price, but because I was a student, I was able to take advantage of the discount, and there are tons of little discounts like that. Maybe not student discounts, but you can also pay attention to the time of year that things tend to go on sale, like holidays, and also look out for any special deals at different retailers, because sometimes different websites will have different deals and you'll be able to save a little bit of money if you're not buying secondhand. Secondhand is always the cheapest, but if you're really adamant about getting something new, you'll be able to find a deal somewhere. With all this said, it's really important to remember that the way your setup looks today might not be the way your setup looks a year from now. And just embracing that process of constantly upgrading and updating is going to make you a lot happier, and it's going to make it sort of like a game as you go on building your setup. Your needs will change and your taste will change, so eventually you might not even want the gear that you originally bought. So getting into the process of buying and selling is a really fun way to make sure you're upgrading your setup, but also not breaking the bank. Your used gear is worth something, and it's a lot better than putting it in the closet and having it collect dust because you might one day need it again. If you're upgrading your monitors, sell your old monitors. If you're buying a new keyboard, get rid of your old keyboard. But don't just take all that money and go spend it on something cool and flashy. Take that money and reinvest it back into your setup. Alright, so that's my tip for this Mentor Monday. That helped me grow my studio a lot and eventually helped me build what is ultimately a business of my YouTube channel in constantly upgrading and updating my setup to a point where now I really don't have to worry about that too much because brands like to partner with the channel and send me the gear anyway. But if you have tactics for upgrading and updating your setup without breaking the bank, drop them in a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up and please go share this with a friend who also produces music that might be looking for strategies around budgeting for their setup. And if you haven't yet, click that subscribe button for more live electronic music performances, tutorials, and content to make you a more productive producer. Don't forget, if you're already subscribed, please go down and ring the bell so you can get a notification every time I post a video. Really hope you guys are enjoying these Mentor Mondays. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.